Hello and welcome. My name is Carol Carter, and I'm the founder and CEO of Global Minded. And thank you so much for joining us, whether you are live or watching this as a recorded session. This is part of our 2021 virtual event for Global Minded. In case you aren't familiar with Global Minded, we are all about creating a capable, diverse talent pipeline to get more women, people of color, any way that you can define diversity into the education, employment, and economic mobility pipeline. And we do that a number of different ways. One is an annual conference, which is virtual this year. Another is through first-gen leadership programs that we have for students every year. And another is college collaboratives that we work with several different colleges around the country, HBCUs, MSIs, and other partners that have high Pell eligible going students. And finally, we have Inclusive Leader Awards every year across 15 sectors, recognizing leaders who are really setting the standard for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So thank you so much for joining us. And before we start, before we introduce Tanya and this wonderful panel, I just want to share that we have a dedication today, which is to the Dean of the School of Education who brought us all together, and that's Rebecca Cantor, who died a couple of weeks ago and just was such a wonderful leader and person who had such a passion for every type of education and learning, but was really in also the early childhood space, which we all know after this last year is such a critical component for what happens for the rest of people's lives. So we just want to give a tribute, dedicate this session to Dr. Rebecca Cantor, because she would be here with us today for this. And so we're just going to continue in her memory to work as much as we can on behalf of the things that she cared about, which was the equity work that we all do here. So, but I'd like to introduce Dr. Tanya Hogan, and the session today is called Building the Diverse Talent Pipeline in K-12 master's and PhD programs, and really looking at what it takes to be successful as someone who's first gen across those different areas. And I want to give a shout out before he introduces himself, because we have one of our graduates from our 2015 class in Richard Mace, who's gone on to do really well, and he'll tell you about how well he's done, but we're just very, very proud of him. And tomorrow, for those of you who read the newsletter daily, which there's like 15,000 readers, we want to just let you know that his story is going to be in there tomorrow with a link to this session. So thanks so much. And with that, Dr. Tanya Hogan, welcome, and welcome to all of your wonderful panelists.
Great, thank you so much, Carol. And since you started off with a dedication, we also had wanted to dedicate this presentation to her. And I just want to add one piece. Yes, she was definitely advocating always for access and equitable education for all. And one of the things someone at her memorial service did say was that she would put the wind under people's wings. And as we're talking today about some of the programs, you will see that she definitely put the wind under people's wings to make this happen and keep it going. And so we just wanted to say that we're honoring her legacy by sharing our important work that we'll be sharing with everyone today. And so welcome. Thank you for having us here. I'm Dr. Tanya Hogan, and I use pronouns she, her, hers, ella. I am the Director of Student Success at the University of Colorado, Denver, and oversee the Next Gen Teacher Residency Program and the Student Success Center. Soy Mexicana Americana. My dad is Mexican. My mom is Hungarian and French. I was born in Acapulco, Mexico, and came to the US when I was 5. I'm bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural. And prior to working at CU, I taught in Denver Public Schools for 16 years. The purpose of our session today, though, is to share what we are doing as a collective community to build and increase the diverse talent pipeline in pre-K-12 master's and doctoral programs. Our panel includes brilliant colleagues and students that have been part of several programs and organizations. Their insights and experiences will help you reflect, get a glimpse at what is working and what barriers do continue to be encountered. Our hope is by highlighting the experiences and resources being implemented, you will be inspired to advocate for better access and resources within your own educational institutions. So we're going to begin with introductions, and each panelist is going to introduce themselves. So they're going to share their name, pronouns, schoolwork, and what success means to you. So Joselyne Garcia-Moreno, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Joselyne Garcia-Moreno. I'm an undergraduate student at UC Denver. My pronouns as well as she, her, ella. I'm also Mexican-American. Both of my parents are Mexican from Durango, Mexico. I actually had the privilege to leave go and live 7 years in Mexico. I'm also bicultural, and I am bilingual. I actually will be graduating tomorrow, and I'm going into my master's program. Thank you. I'm going to my master's program this summer. And to me, that's part of what success means, because I know that my parents came to this country to give me a better future, a better educational opportunity. And so I feel like I'm making that happen for them, for me, and for everyone who has believed in me. So that's part of my success, of what success means to me, just making things happen that maybe our parents or grandparents, our uncles or other family members or other people from our cultures and other minority cultures weren't able to do, and we're making that happen. Thank you.
Richard, do you want to go next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Maez, and I'm the IB program manager at George Washington High School in the Denver Public Schools. I also identify as bicultural. My mom is white and my dad is Latino with heritage. We always say that the border crossed my grandparents, or my great-grandparents. We didn't cross the border from Southern Colorado. I'm a DPS grad, went to the University of Denver for both my bachelor's and my master's degree. I'm getting my teaching license, and I'm currently a student at CSU Global, earning my educational leadership certificate, and ultimately my principal's license. My pronouns are he, him. For me, success is all about making sure that you enjoy what you do and you're doing it happily. I always try to tell my students, like, you need to find not necessarily your passion or purpose, but something that you truly enjoy and love to do, because that is what you will find will make you happy in life.
Thank you. Mauricio?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mauricio Dominguez Osorio. My pronouns are he, him, his. I was born in Mexico, and I moved to the US when I was 17. I'm an undergraduate student at CU Denver. And success to me means getting my degree and helping my community. Like, I had lots of professors that were Hispanic, and that served me as a role model to me. So I want to do the same for my community. I want to be a role model for my students.
Thank you. Dr. Castro.
Hello, Maria Castro Barajas, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I work for the University of Colorado Boulder as an assistant director for our bridge program that works with 12th graders, and also for those students that decide to come to CU Boulder, we bridge them in and we transition them in prior to college. And the definition of success to me is ensuring that you are educated, whatever that may mean, whether it's formal or informal. But I also think that the definition of success can change. So for me, it was first just getting my undergraduate degree, and now I got my doctorate degree. And so that wasn't part of the success in the beginning for me, but I think as long as you keep knowing that success can change in the definition of it. So, education is important. Thank you.
And Dr. Brandehoff.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Robin Brandehoff, she, her, hers. I am a mixed race, cisgender female raised at the loving intersections of Hawaii and East LA. I am a first generation high school and college graduate. I earned my undergrad and my master's in education from Whittier College out in East LA. I taught primarily gang affiliated Latinx youth all throughout California, from East LA to San Francisco to the the rural areas of the Central Valley. And then most recently, I came out to Denver to earn my PhD in education from the University of Colorado, Denver. And I am now faculty there, working in culturally and linguistically diverse education. For me, success is much like what a lot of my colleagues here just mentioned. It's setting a goal for yourself. And that goal could be anything. It could be education, it could be professional goals, it could be family goals. And it's just really continuing to work hard and re-examine what those goals mean to you and what it takes to attain those goals, and just consistently working towards whatever it is that you deem to be success and what brings you joy and happiness.
Great. So as you can see, success has a different meaning for each individual person. We've learned not to assume that everyone defines success in the same way, and that it's such an important piece in working with students and our colleagues across the pipeline, and encourage this dialogue of what does success mean to ensure that the supports, the guidance, the networking all align to the student or our colleagues' values and future endeavors. So now we're going to have each panelist identify the programs or people that have been instrumental in the panel's experiences to support them in their journey, many of which overlap. And so we'll begin with Dr. Maria Castro Barajas and the Pre-Collegiate program. And I'm going to add, because I think you left it out of your introduction, but she's also graduating tomorrow.
Yes, I am. So thank you. Yes. Thank you. All right, so the Pre-Collegiate Development Program at the University of Colorado, it's an institutional funded academic enhancement program. It serves first-generation students and families from targeted middle schools and high schools, and it's designed to motivate and prepare first-generation students in pursuit of post-secondary education. We have programs in all throughout Colorado. Our programs serve either Boulder, we have a program in Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, Anschutz, and the rural areas. And again, we're really focusing, starting at the middle school. I know for myself, I was a past pre-collegiate student, and so I started in high school, and I really believe that this was the foundation for my education, because otherwise I would have probably been that student ABC average that may not have seen college as an opportunity. And so I really hold this program dear and near to my heart, because not only was I a student, but now I've come full circle and I actually get to direct other students that are in the same shoes. So it's really one of those jobs that I can say I wake up every day and really love what I do.
Thank you, Doctora. Next, we will have Joselyne share about the CU Denver Scholars Program and Pathways to Teaching.
The Scholars Program is a program sort of related to pre-collegiate. It's a CU Denver program in early college enrollment for college-bound, high-achieving first-generation high school seniors. Students take CU Denver College courses, mostly on campus, can be online, and receive college credit at the same time that they're completing their senior year in high school. Students also attend monthly Saturday academy workshops with focus on teaching enhanced study skills. The Pathways to Teaching program is a dual enrollment teacher preparation program for high school juniors and seniors, which includes college level courses, field work, hours at local elementary schools, and a culminating research driven project and presentation on social and academic issues. Classes include social justice and education, special education, and culturally and linguistically diverse education. Students completing all three courses are in a paraprofessional education certificate, which allows them to work in a local school district while earning their college degree. I was one of the students in the first class that earned the paraprofessional certificate, and I was able to work right after graduating high school in my same high school for 2 years as a math para.
Thank you, Joselyne. And now Mauricio will share information about the Next Gen program, and then the culturally and linguistically diverse endorsement that comes with that BA.
Hi, so the Next Gen program is a teacher preparation program offered through School of Educational Human Development, CU Denver, and it's designed to prepare future educators who are committed in social justice and equity And some of the benefits of the program are that you get paid while working as a paraeducator intern. You get academic support. That way, like, you can support studying for tests and any other like assignments and everything. Social emotional support. You get meetings with your cohort and you share your experiences in the schools, what you learned there. Kind of like we kind of learn from each other. In the last year, the professional year, if you work for TPS, you do get paid. Because sometimes you have to intern without getting paid, and that's really difficult because you won't be working for a whole year. So for first generation students, it's sometimes kind of almost impossible to do that. So yeah, next year, like if you work for TPS, you will get a stipend and they will support you through your professional year. And then the CLD endorsement is designed like to prepare future teachers for working with diverse students, like how to include like the culture, the language, the abilities in your teaching. So once you go work for a district that is diverse, you will be like, have the tools to work with diverse students.
Thanks, Mauricio. Now, Joselyne, we'll go back to Joselyne, and she's going to tell us about the NOISE teacher program that she was just admitted to.
Yeah, the seed number NOISE teacher program and scholarship promotes secondary teaching as a career for undergraduate and post-bachelor's majors in STEM content area. The program offers a generous grant through the National Science Foundation for those accepted to the program to obtain their master's in arts and teaching and a secondary teaching license. The program aims to respond to the critical needs for high quality mathematics and science teachers by providing scholarships, research, and teaching experiences and professional development to talented students.
Great, thank you. And now we'll have Richard share about his impressive IB program at George Washington, and he's representing with his t-shirt on today, and then also being part of the First Gen Global Minded program, and his feature story will be released tomorrow.
Awesome, thank you. So the International Baccalaureate program, the first part of the program, the Diploma program, was created in 1968. It was established in order to provide an international education where young people would be better equipped to handle and manage the complexities of the world, providing them with the knowledge and skills to improve it. Over the last 40 years, always informed by continual research and the experience in international education, the IB has grown to offer 4 different programs in 5,000 schools. Here at George Washington, we offer the Diploma program. And it's really focusing on critical engagement with challenging ideas, one that both is open to innovation. And so students enter the program. I was actually an IB student beginning in elementary school. The philosophy is around developing critical analysis, concept skills, and asking a lot of questions. How I describe it, that my love for this program is because it's developing a love of learning that spans beyond just the classroom and into the real world. And how do you engage with that continual learning process? And for us, it's really engaging students to take control of their education, ask a lot of questions, and then the First Gen program is, as I was getting ready to graduate from the University of Denver, it was an amazing experience to connect with thought leaders and change makers through Global Minded to really provide me a sense of what I could do in education. And actually, I partnered with another alum from the 2015 class to launch a alumni group for DPS students. And so it's really cool to see the connections that you can make through these programs with people that look like you, to see where you can go and how you can challenge yourself to be successful.
Thanks, Richard. And now Dr. Brandehoff will share about the doctoral program in Leadership for Educational Equity, and that focuses on Latinx communities and learners, which I happen to be a proud graduate of that program first cohort too.
It all comes full circle. Yeah, so this is actually one of the programs that Dean Cantor had just greatly supported, greatly loved, and definitely contributed to. So at the University of Colorado, Denver, we have a doctorate in leadership for educational equity with a focus on Latinx students and families. Here, students are studying critical race theory, decolonized research methodologies, and they're also examining how culturally sustaining and multilingual programs are vital for educators and school leaders of today's ever-growing diverse schools and student populations. In our program, students explore school restructuring strategies for linguistic diversity, language education policy and politics, and also issues of assessment and instruction for Latino, Latina students. I'm going to pass it over to Maria. Dr. Castro.
Thank you. And I'm also a product of the Latinx school communities, and, you know, excited that, like they said, I'll be graduating. Actually, on Monday, I'll be walking. But the doctoral students of color was actually a support and enhance academic professional organization. And this organization helps doctoral students of color throughout their tenure at the University of Colorado, Denver, by providing a sense of community, a forum for collegial support, empowerment, exchange of ideas, and discussion of critical issues related to the doctoral programs. And it also offers workshops throughout the school year, the support that is much needed, because unfortunately, as a first generation student, support that I thought would, you know, it'd be so not easy to get a doctorate degree, right? But just that I wouldn't need that type of support. No, I sometimes think you might not even need more support during this time, and really just making sure that you have that group of people that can help you through this process, because like many, you know, will start but not finish. And that's one thing that our organization really wants to ensure, is that, you know, we can really support each other to get those degrees, because we know that the percentage for first gen students of color is so low.
We'll go back to Dr. Brandehoff to tell about the Grow Your Own Collective.
Absolutely. So connecting back to Pathways to Teaching, back in 2016, myself and Dr. Margarita Bianco connected with a lot of other wonderful colleagues from across the nation, and we created the Grow Your Own Collective. So this is a national collective of practitioners, educators, union members, policymakers, researchers, and allies that are focused on creating a national model for recruiting and retaining teachers of color. Our purpose is to support and strengthen local, regional, and state level GYO models that recruit, prepare, place, support, retain, and leverage leadership development for diverse, culturally responsive, community-grounded teachers of color. Our work currently is a little on pause thanks to COVID, but we will be getting back up on our feet very, very soon. But we are connected not only with Pathways to Teaching, but with several school districts within Washington State, Grow Your Own Illinois, In Peace in Hawaii, and a couple of other national programs.
So as you can see, these programs are all essential in putting the needs of first-gen multilingual and first-gen students at the forefront. All build on assets already present, specifically cultural assets. They focus on equity and social justice, and in bringing forward the strengths and possibilities as leverage points to achieve the success that the student has defined as themselves. So now we're going to move on to have each panelist tell us about their own journey through school to college and where they are now. What were those key elements that helped you get to college? And then what programs have helped you throughout the pipeline? And who would like to go first? Just jump in and then popcorn.
I'll start because I don't like awkward silences. And then I will pass to Dr. Castro Barajas. So I was not meant for college. I grew up in the projects in Maui. None of my family members ever went to college. None of them graduated from high school, nothing like that. And so my pathway growing up was, as soon as you are able to work, you go to work and you support your family. And that was just how it was. And I ended up actually dropping out of high school twice. The first time, my teachers didn't even realize that I was gone. I was gone for about 6 months, and the truancy officers finally tracked me down and came after me. And then after that, I actually enrolled in a private Catholic school. And that was the first time that teachers really saw me for me. And when I had to drop out the second time to take care of my brother, my mom was hospitalized and very, very sick. And so I stayed home with my brother who has autism. And I just, I figured that my school career was over at that point. It was my teachers at that school that came to my house and dropped off homework every week. It was them that counseled me through a lot of the issues that I didn't realize that I was avoiding or harboring or, anything like that. I was just trying to be the strong big sister to take care of the family, that kind of thing. And I didn't realize what I was missing out on, I guess. And it was really these individuals that helped to support me and gave me, they planted the seed of an idea that I should go to college and I should really consider graduating from high school and all of that stuff. I also, again, I grew up in East LA and I grew up in a very, very gang impacted area. And, to be honest, a lot of my closest mentors were gang affiliated. And I was in high school, I was about a sophomore, I think it was. And one day my neighbor, who was a leader in the neighborhood, he sat me down on the porch steps and he told me, Mija, you are going to college. And it wasn't like you should go to college or do you want to go to college? It was like, no, you're going to college. And his conversation with me that day, I kept telling him like, I'm not meant to go to college, like blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I listed off a whole bunch of reasons. And he stopped me and said, look, you are the inspiration of the neighborhood. I want my kids to look up to you and see that they have the same opportunity, that they can also go to college and they can get out of here. And it was really, that conversation coupled with the mentorship and love that my teachers showed me that really pushed me to think about graduating from high school and then think about going to college. So for me, my entire pathway through education was through mentorship. And I continued that throughout my educator journey and then also through my PhD, which my entire dissertation was on mentorship and the importance of informal mentoring for gang affiliated youth like myself. So that's my story. I'm gonna popcorn to Dr. Castro Barajas.
Thank you, Dr. Robin. Wow, what a great story. You see, you even learned something about our own colleagues as well. My story starts out as, a first-gen student, not understanding what even college is about, but knowing I want to because basically my parents live paycheck to paycheck. And I said, I definitely don't want to live like that. And so, I found the Pre-Collegiate program. They interviewed me. I began my journey to see what college is all about. And I just knew no matter what, I needed to get to college and be there. And so I started my journey at CU Boulder. Unfortunately, the systems, the structures, not even understanding what really college is all about, I didn't do well academically. And so during that time, I started the first Latina sorority because I knew if I was facing some of these challenges, other girls were as well. And so we started that sorority, and it's been over 30 years since it's been in existence now, which is really nice. But because I put so much time into that sorority, again, my academics, and so I thought I failed. I'm like, well, I tried to make it at this university. It didn't work. So, well, I don't know what's next, but I actually ended up finishing my degree at Metropolitan State University of Denver. Loved the curriculum, loved the people that I worked with. I started my my career in financial aid because I remember crying to my mom saying they need this and they need that. And so I ended up being a financial aid counselor. And so from there, I knew that I needed to continue my education because I wanted to continue to work in higher ed. And so I ended up getting my master's degree. And after my master's degree, you know, coming to my doctorate program. And like Dr. Brandehoff said, I ended up doing my dissertation on bridge programs because that was, I feel, one piece that was missing for me that I feel like maybe would have kept me at the university if I would have had a transitioning program that would have helped through some of these barriers that I was facing, whether it was academically, socially, the culture shock. I mean, that was a really big one, you know, going into college. And so I think for me, it was definitely the foundation of a pre-collegiate program, seeking out mentors that would help throughout this and really just asking questions. And like I said, it's so nice to come full circle because so many of the issues are still there at the university today. Culture shock, how to pay for college. And it's so nice now that I can be that mentor to them to tell them, this is what you need to say, or this is what you can do. And so, you know, that's really my story, and I'm sticking to it.
How about Joselyne? You want to go next?
Sure. For me, my story, I always been that girl that always loved school. I was one of those little kids that was in kindergarten, first grade, and didn't want to have summer vacations or summer break. I just wanted to be in school all day. When I was 7, my parents decided to go to Mexico. So we moved to Mexico, and I spent 7 years over there. I came back in 2014, so at the beginning of high school. And I started freshman year in Bennett, Colorado. I don't know if you all are familiar with. It's a pretty predominantly white school. I was the 10th Mexican, I remember, and I was an English language learner. In my years in Mexico, I pretty much lost all of the English that I knew. I could barely have a conversation with anyone. So it was a struggle being in an all-white school where teachers weren't prepared to teach someone who didn't know how to speak English. It was a struggle, and I experienced a lot of microaggressions when I was there that I didn't know at the time they were microaggressions. So then I moved to Oklahoma for the second half of my freshman year, and then I came to Denver to Lincoln High School in South Denver. And my sophomore year, I was just starting classes like everyone else. By that time, my English got a little bit better. And by the second semester, teachers switched me to all honors classes. And I've always been that type of student that I always wanted to prove myself that I could do better. And my parents, I'm an only child, so my parents really pushed me to do better because they knew that I could. They knew that with the support I could. Sometimes they couldn't because my mom finished up to 9th grade, my dad until 6th grade. So they couldn't help me the way they wanted to, but they always inspired me to do a little bit better each time. So then by my junior year, I was taking AP class in some concurrent enrollment. And one of those classes, it was the Pathways to Teaching program, the first course. And I decided to take it because I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I needed a little bit more experience within the field. So I took that class, and that's when I started learning about the social injustices. And that's when I realized that a lot of the experiences that I suffered when I came back, they were a lot of racial issues, a lot of microaggressions, like I said. So it opened my eyes, and it really made me believe that I wanted to be a teacher because I wanted to support those students who maybe they want to do better. Their families are supporting them to do better, but they are going through all of these racial issues in the system. So because of that, I realized that I wanted to take advantages of all the opportunities that I had. So then I also was part of a pre-collegiate program my junior year. I was part of the program, and I took the courses from the program, and they also introduced me to the scholars program. They're kind of linked and joined in CU Denver. And so I also became part of the scholars program. So once I graduated from high school, I already finished with a bit over a year of college credit in classes that I've taken from concurrent enrollment and all of these programs. So I went to college. My senior year was pretty much just me applying for scholarships because I knew that it was going to be difficult for my parents to help me pay for college. similar to Dr. Maria, my parents live paycheck to paycheck. And so I knew that it was going to be difficult for them. And even though I was willing to work, I also wanted to focus on my studies. So I spent my entire senior year applying for scholarships, and thankfully I got enough scholarships where I didn't have to pay a cent out of pocket. And that was something that really changed my idea of what I am able to do. Thank you. And so I graduated high school with my para certificate from Pathways to Teaching. I started working at Lincoln High School as well for 2 years as a math para. Then I transitioned last year to be working with Pathways to Teaching as a graduate assistant for teachers and in the program, and helping them and helping the students kind of learn through a lot of the experiences that the teachers have. And I wanted to join with sharing my experience and tell students that they're not alone. There are a lot of English language learners in the program, and just telling them that they can do this, that they are able to finish these type of courses that are deemed for those students who don't look like us in a way. And so now I'm graduating a year early thanks to all of those credits and programs that were there that I took the advantage of. And I know that a lot of students maybe have the opportunity, some of them don't, but they don't know how to take advantage of those things because we aren't taught how to do that. And so that's one of my inspirations to do that. One of my professors mentioned, I told them that I wanted to be a math teacher, and they told me about the Noise Scholarship, and I applied, I got the scholarship, and I've been accepted since I was a sophomore/junior in college. Been a year in the program, and so this summer I'm officially starting with the actual master's part of the program, and I'm really excited to see what the future brings. And I'm really excited to hopefully at least help one person, with my story and with sharing. I hope that at least one person benefits from it. And if that happens, then I will feel more than served. I'll pass it on to Mauricio.
Hello. So my journey started in Mexico. So I was born in Mexico. So I went to public school in Mexico, but then I had to drop out to help my family. Then I decided that I could do more, so I had started to move to the US. And when I came to the US, I spoke no English. Then things were so difficult, so I need to learn that language, right? So one of my cousins was taking ESL classes, and he's the one that got me into taking ESL classes as well. So I just continued working and taking ESL classes. And at the end of that, I wanted to go to college, so I had to take a placement test because I didn't finish high school or anything. Of course, I passed the test except the math part because I could write, I could read English, but I couldn't do math. So I had to take developmental math classes to get to college classes, and that's what I did. And I just, what helped me was like mentors, like students that been in college longer than I have. So they kind of taught me how to which classes to take, which professors to take. Also like how to fill out an application for this, how to do that, because I didn't know how to do any of that. You didn't know how to do any of that. So you have to ask other people, all these classmates that have been in college longer than you have. And also one of my professors was Hispanic, and he kind of told me, oh, Mauricio, you are very good at writing and things like that. So kind of that helped me, okay, so I'm good at something, right? So he inspired me to become an educator because he believed in me, and he told me that I have what it takes to get a degree. So, and that's why I want to get a degree in education, because I want to inspire my students and tell them, okay, you have what it takes. Your culture matters, and you're gonna do well if you work hard. So that's why then having professors that care about you is really what helps you get through the difficult parts. And also college is expensive, right? So scholarships really help a lot. They did help us. I worked through college. I was working full time and going to school half time, and so that's why it's taking me so long, because it takes longer, right? Because you have to work full time. You don't have time. You either work and get the money to pay for school, or just don't go to school at all. So yeah, next year, the scholarships next year really has helped me pay for my school, and hopefully my professional year is going to help me pay for professional year. And also, I didn't know how to like apply for scholarships. So being next gen, they helped me do that, like how to apply for a scholarship. I didn't know how to do that, but now I know. So that's my journey.
Very similar to everyone else's, the through line through my journey has been community and people. Neither of my parents went to school, went to college, but they believed from the very beginning that education is something that no one can take away from you, and that's going to open tons of possibilities for your future. And so it was a centerpiece in our household to get to college. Similarly, my parents were not going to pay for it. They were low income, and so I did not have like a college fund or anything like that. In high school, it really was my counselor who was an advocate for me in finding possibilities and opportunities. Like I was part of Pre-Collegiate, part of Trio Talent Search. I had never visited a college campus until I joined Trio, and so I was able to visit a number of schools here in Colorado to open my eyes of what college could be. My counselor was also one to introduce me to scholarships. Similarly to Joselyne, I was able to get my undergrad and grad school paid for by the Venture Foundation. So a full tuition scholarship that really opened the doors for me to feel like I wasn't limited in where I could go and what the possibilities were. And it really was community. My teachers in high school, I credit the IB program for preparing me to be successful in college because you have to be a critical thinker. You have to ask questions. You have to advocate for yourself. And that's what really taught me in high school to be successful in college. And then I went to the University of Denver, predominantly white institution. There were not a lot of people that looked like me. And I really felt out of place in a lot of spaces. And I definitely leaned into that imposter syndrome of, should I even be here? Will I be successful? And the big piece for me was taking advantage of the opportunities presented. So I was able to join a leadership development program focused on BIPOC students through the Cultural Center. And like the director of that program, Tracy Adams-Peters, she was phenomenal in building up the capacity of students to know that they were supposed to be there, that they were going to succeed and they were going to get through it. And that program and many others, but that was the reason why I really loved DU, and DU became a family to me, and I could be successful and take the classes I wanted, and ended up double majoring and deciding I wanted to get my master's is because of the people who were there cheering me on, but also asking me the tough questions and pushing me to do things that I felt uncomfortable, which is why, like, for me, being an educator now and going to get my principal's license is I want to be that role model for students moving forward. And I want to be that through line of community and that person that people can look up to. The only person that looked like me in my K through 12 career was my Spanish teacher in high school. And that's a problem. And so that's something that I really want to push people to fix and figure out is we need to increase that diversity of identity and then thought and perspective so that everyone feels that they can do what they want after 12th grade.
Thank you. So you've heard stories of what helped, and I think within our stories, there's always the weaving of the barriers encountered. And we're going to focus this next question on specifically what are those barriers you've experienced during your academic journey. And the two questions to think about are like, what are the systems and structures that need to change? And then how do these systems need to change to ensure students of color, first gen or multilingual students can succeed within them? And so maybe we'll just go through that same pathway again. Dr. Brandehoff, you want to start us off again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, my colleagues and I both, you know, we all talked about it. Money is a huge, huge barrier. And, you know, unless you are supported or know how to get the scholarships or how to apply to the scholarships, it is really, really hard to attain those scholarships. And even if you apply, it doesn't mean that you're going to get them. So for myself, especially, I mean, I would not have been able to go to college had it not been for the grants and scholarships that I got. Tied with that, in my experience, racism and microaggressions and oppression was a huge barrier, and it remains a huge barrier for anyone who is culturally and ethnically diverse, especially when you are attending a predominantly white institution. And so, you know, when I say that my scholarship was tied to racism, for my undergraduate, I was actually a theater major. And, you know, a lot of what my colleagues talked about was, if you don't know the college going experience, you don't know how things work. And so I was the only one out of anyone that I ever knew that was going to college. And all I had heard about college was you get to take whatever classes you want, which sounds amazing. And so that's what I did. And I ended up having to double major in theater because I took too many theater classes. It wasn't a bad thing, but it was definitely not my plan. But yeah, so one of my scholarships was the biggest scholarship that I had earned, which is why I went to that institution. And it was directly tied to being in the theater plays that they had every year. And when I say that racism was directly tied to this, I was not cast in roles, in lead roles for any of the plays until my late junior year, senior year, when we had a brand new professor come in and take over the department. I was told that I did not match the roles that were the classical roles, the blonde hair, blue-eyed roles that the director was looking for. And as a direct result of that, I nearly lost my scholarship. And it was heartbreaking to me because that was something that was completely out of my control. You know, I mean, there were so many different instances of microaggressions and racial oppression that I endured all throughout my academic journey, including as a doctoral student. And it's things that I continue to see, and I continue to see students having to code switch or being too afraid to ask questions or go to office hours, because when you are a person of color, when you're a student of color, when you are a first generation student of color, oftentimes asking for help or going to those office hours means, in some people's eyes, that you don't know what you're doing and you don't belong there. And that was something that I internalized all the way up to being a doctoral student. I thought that asking for help meant that I didn't belong there. And I was terrified of people learning my secret that I didn't belong here. When in actuality, hell yeah, I belong there. I am there now. You know, we have students that are graduating tomorrow and they 1000% belong there because they earned it and they're smart and they have so much to offer. But because of racism, because of microaggressions, because of oppression, because of white supremacy in predominantly white institutions, these students are not allowed to shine. And these institutions make being a student and being successful a scary place to be. So for me, it's breaking down those systems and breaking down those barriers of oppression and finding ways to continually educate our faculty and our staff to be anti-racist, as Dr. Kendi talks about. And it's not about taking a DEI course and checking off a checkbox. It's about continual ongoing learning and ongoing reflection that our staff, our teachers, our faculty, our administrators, our principals, that everyone needs to continue to process and learn from in order to make educational pathways possible and equitable and something that is actually attainable and for it to be a place, for academics to be a place that is safe and, you know, just full of opportunity and everything that all of my colleagues talked about and how they're shining on a daily basis. That's what I want from the system. So my big goal is to break it all down and then build it up again. Working on it.
Hard to follow that one, but I think exactly like Dr. Brandehoff said, is that the systems need to change, I think, first by having people in leadership roles, such as like Dean Cantor, who is willing to sit down with students and talk to them and not just make these policies and these systems and say, this is how it should work, without actually talking to the students who are first gen students of color who aren't getting through. And so I feel like it's people like her, others who get into these leadership roles that can really help first gen students succeed. And I also think continuing to support programs like all the programs that we talked about, from starting in middle school all the way to our doctoral program, so we can continue to prosper. I think you can help by supporting financially, like we talked about. There's so many different scholarship programs that are offered for students because, again, unfortunately, financial aid doesn't pay everything. And I'll be paying some student loans after this degree. And so, you know, how can we help more of our students not have to take out these student loans and be able to be self-sufficient after? And so helping with scholarship money, helping with mentoring them during college. I know many of my colleagues talked about that, right? Having what classes to take, what not classes to take. You know, am I in the right major or not? Because so many times, many of our students will, you know, have one major and then they have 3 more majors because, you know, they thought what was supposed to be success of being maybe an engineer or this is not, or maybe some jobs that they never even thought of as part of a degree. And I think also, you know, having a mentorship after the fact, right? So, okay, now we got our degree, but now what? So helping first gen students actually get those jobs, and not just entry level jobs, but jobs that, you know, they can be in management positions. And then hopefully, again, that'll lead to more leadership roles, and hoping to break down some of these systems for all students, but specifically first gen students of color.
Yeah, similarly to everything that has been said, I agree 100%. But I would also add having more educators prepared to deal and engage with students of color, with students from other backgrounds other than the typical, what's seen typical white background of a white person. I feel like it's not only about teachers in the K-12 system, but also in higher education systems. Last year, I went through really hard events with my family. I lost 2 of my uncles in a really short period of time. And this was affecting my school and my education. And a lot of my white teachers and professors in college, I asked for extensions, you know, from work and from a lot of the assignments that I had to do. And most of them didn't allow this to me. But then the one teacher of color that I had I don't know if it was a relatable issue, if she saw me as someone that, you're a person of color, I am a person of color too. We've all gone through different experiences and hardships. And so she allowed me to have those extensions. And it's just little things like that, because students in all ages, from elementary school, middle school, high school, they experience things that maybe it's out of our hands. And so we need educators that are able to relate and have I don't know how to put it in words, but just have that sensibility to students that they need help, and teachers more prepared to relate and work with students from other backgrounds, with English language learners from not only from Hispanic communities, but also from other countries. We have a lot of Vietnamese students and a lot of the schools that I've been that are also learning English. And so we need, if not the teachers, we need some system in schools that support those students, because without the support, a lot of students feel out of place. I felt a lot out of place when I came to my first school here. I didn't know, I thought I wasn't gonna make it until I went to a school that actually had those support systems. I think it's really important also to have more in higher education, have more programs, teacher-based programs that focus a lot on changing the curriculum, because a lot of the programs that we have now are really focused on the white Eurocentric curriculum, which here in the United States, things are changing. We are not a white Eurocentric community, and we are a diverse community with people from all different backgrounds. So we need to have more programs that focus on those diversities and how to embrace that diversity and make it an asset for those students who maybe thought that they didn't have a place here. Like I've heard from Dr. Robin and Dr. Maria, it's a lot of work to kind of change that system around programs, but I think, like Dr. Robin said, we need to bring it all down and build it back up, and one day, hopefully it'll be done. But yeah, that's kind of the struggles and the things that I wish we could change in the current systems.
I think everyone else said pretty much what I was gonna say, but yeah, for me, like my barriers that I faced was like kind of like the paperwork of college. Is like I was scary because I didn't know what I was doing, so it's like I felt lost when I was filling out applications. Everything, I didn't know what to do. So I feel, yeah, that's something that we need, like kind of mentors that guide you through the process, because you're gonna take this big step, and it's just the first thing you see is this pile of paperwork you have to do. You don't know how to do it or how to start. So yeah, that's a big problem for me. And then yeah, the cost of education, it's just so expensive. So yeah, we need either it makes education cheaper or more scholarships for people. It's more support, because it's a lot.
I think we lost Richard. Okay. So that was the last question. So thank you so much to the panelists for sharing your journeys, being vulnerable, and for your honesty. We would love to take questions. Maybe we only have time for like one or two questions, but if you have questions, you can type them in the chat and we can go ahead and answer them.
Yeah, we'll see if they're in the chat. And it has been so interesting listening to you all. And I just wrote Joselyne because I am doing a session with students at that ASU Teach event on June the 10th. And Joselyne, I would love for you to be part of that panel, because it's all what students wish that their teachers knew. And I want to have every perspective represented. And I think, you guys would be great. And Mauricio, you as well, if you're free and want to join. But I think there's so much wisdom right now. We just published our third report of students, our 25 student ambassadors this year. And there's just such a disconnect between like what colleges normally do, which is like operate in a vacuum apart from the students, instead of like survey them 3 times a year, get them into the deans and the provosts and the college president, get feedback loops, co-create with them, set an agenda with them. And it's like, those are all things that really, I just think really have to happen for our cultures to be inclusive learning environments where every voice feels heard. So Richard's back. Mm-hmm. Hey, Richard.
And so since we haven't had a question yet, what we want to end with is just having each panelist say, what is the takeaway you wish for the audience to have to leave with from your perspective?
Perfect.
Anyone can start. Let's see. Mauricio, do you want to start this one?
I'll start. So I think that something that I want the panel to take with them is like, it takes a village. It's not just one thing. It's many things that support a first generation student, because we're so diverse. So one thing may not work for one person, but it might work for somebody else. So yeah, it's more than one thing. It's many things working together to make it happen.
I think I would say is that you belong wherever that may be. In education, you belong there, because I think, like Dr. Brandehoff said, there's so many things that make us feel like we don't belong. Joselyne, you know, all these classroom environments, and just whatever you can do, if you can find a mentor, a friend, it doesn't have to be someone even older. I think when we think of mentorship, it could be a colleague who's the same age, maybe even someone younger, but just someone that can help you through sometimes those emotional things, to say you do belong, you belong there. We need you there, because you know, the society will not change unless we have a diverse society. We started out as a diverse society. You know, unfortunately, we just continue to have a white colonized thinking. And so we just need to remember that we are diverse in so many different ways, and you belong in this education setting, and we need more of you there so we can continue to make those changes.
I'll just go ahead and add that it is possible. It is possible to do what you want to do, what you dream to do. It is possible to create change. It is possible to be the change that you wanted to see. We just need a little bit of support. Like Marisa said, it takes a village. So let's start building that village.
I want to add, in relation to like the last question, sorry, the power surged in our building just now. So is like, there are structures and barriers everywhere that are limiting and not allowing BIPOC students to be successful. And so ask why, and then take action. I think that's the biggest thing, is asking a lot of questions to figure out, what are we not doing to best serve everybody in an equitable way, and then take action on it. Words can only do so much, but action is what is going to change the system and structures permanently.
Yeah, and I would just like to end that, you know, and I'm speaking to educators, I'm speaking to higher ed personnel, I'm talking to everyone. You've seen it here. We all have a story, and there may be parts of our background that we don't necessarily share openly with folks, but know that we each have our own journey, and to really consider that when students are walking into your room, and to think about, you know, what is it that they are coming from? What's their pathway? What is their goal? How do they define success? And to really just think about, you know, what are the ways that I, as their colleague, as their friend, as their mentor, as their advisor, as their teacher, what are the ways that I can figure out what those barriers are and start to take them out in order to really, really support this person, and to get to know them, not just as a student, but as a person, as a whole person.
Well, thank you again. I think we're going to end with a quote from Gloria Anzaldúa, and she reminds us that change requires more than words on a page. It takes perseverance, creative ingenuity, and acts of love. And I think, Joselyne, when you were talking about your professor, it's an act of love, right? And that's what we need. We need more of that. And so we want you all to go be change agents, as Richard said. Take action. And thank you for attending our session. And we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And I want to just share, because just in listening to you all, I remember, I think it's like a Buddhist saying, which is tall like mountain and flow like water, that there's all kinds of boulders and there's things that come up, but you have to go around them, or you have to go over them, or you have to go under them. And you just keep going, because the path has those obstacles, but you can still be strong, you know, in the midst of all of that. So I think you guys, it's just been such a pleasure to be with you all today. And I just want to share that next week we have, continuing on the acknowledging of educators, is a real focus on higher education next week. And we'll have all Native leaders, Native American leaders, on Monday with David Yarlett, who's president of Little Bighorn College in Montana. Montana, and just some incredible people from colleges around the country and some of our tribal colleges. So we hope that you can see that or catch it later. And then we have just an incredible lineup of people next week from all different backgrounds, really breaking that mold of higher ed. I loved what you said, Robin, about, some things have to be really broken so you can just rebuild. And I think the other thing I really heard from you all is the model of teaching is moving from that as expert-based to that as person who can have that emotional connection, because students have so much learning available to them that they can go and self-direct. So the big role, I think, of the new educator now is that emotional connection. And that's just such a powerful vehicle that you have all just articulated. So thank you for everything. And we'll just say one more, big blessing to Rebecca Cantor for bringing us all together, for her amazing vision and all the train tracks that I just learned of. I knew a little bit from talking to you all a few months ago, but massive what you guys are doing there and the standard that you're setting for people in education programs everywhere. And Global Minded really looks forward to supporting you all in achieving your goals and to creating more students that are like Richard and Joselyne and Mauricio and each of you. And we hope to be able to do that as soon as we can so that it's in the millions and not 600. So thanks to everybody and congratulations to the graduates. And we are so proud of you. And thanks to everybody. And we'll look forward to seeing you all live next June, but hopefully in the next few months, we're going to have a party here at the Lifebound offices in the backyard and invite you guys. And people can still be spaced out or whatever if they're nervous about being around people, but we're going to have some people over. So look for that in a couple months, and can't wait to introduce you all to some other really cool people that are on your same page of change. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Have a good weekend and happy graduation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.